Okay, we'll get started. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting of Thursday, July 18th, 2019. First item on the agenda today is a discussion item for target modernization.
Danny, you need another chair.
Hello, how are you?
All right, the board should probably be a little familiar with this application. We had the public hearing already. The last plan I reviewed, I received it electronically on July 12th. So I apologize you didn't get a hard copy in your mail packet, but I did provide a link to a Dropbox, so hopefully that worked if anybody tried that. And you do have copies now. Basically, this was the facade refresh, including originally 2 red EPIS panels, retrofitting of the soffit lighting, repainting, replacement of existing signs, and an update to the parking lot lighting. We had discussed that all the lighting would have to be in compliance with Article XLIX, exterior lighting. And I did give some preliminary comments to the attorney for the project after I had gone out there and did a site visit, such that the as-built plan provided was actually an old site plan. It wasn't accurate to existing conditions. There were faded pavement markings that needed to be redone, that the lighting plan didn't show information required on existing lighting to remain, that landscaping needed to be added to the islands in the southern portion of the parking lot, and that a planning board certification box needed to be added to each page of the plans, which was subsequently done. So I'm sure the board is familiar with the location. It's the easternmost parcel of the shopping center that was the old Sports Authority to the west and Target to the east.
No tree removal?
They're not proposing any tree removal, no. Both pieces of the shopping center are under separate ownership. There's, as I discussed before on the other project, there's a very convoluted operations and maintenance agreement. The main driveway to the shopping center is on the Target parcel, although they both share that. And there's cross-access all the way to Harrison Avenue, across the Sports Authority parcel and the Walgreens parcel, and then all the way to Roanoke Avenue to the east, across the TJ Maxx shopping center. So we did have the public hearing on July 2nd. As far as SECR goes, it's a type 2 action with no further review required. Just made a note that there were no parking calculations included because it really wasn't relevant, but I did want to make the board aware that the parking ratio has changed, so they would have over the amount required for parking. So as far as the application, the survey that is used as a site plan, it's not up to date because it doesn't show existing fire zone striping. That's to the north and east of the building. It doesn't show pavement markings on the signage posts for the customer order pickup area out in the parking lot, et cetera. So we would need a site plan that's accurate, and also one that shows the improvements that need to be made. Like I said, we only got a survey and a parking lot landscape restoration plan. So the fire marshal recently reviewed the application, and he said that all fire zone markings in the driveway to the east of the building and at the rear of the building need to be redone. So that would be the striping and the wordage, wording. Also, he wanted the locations and specifications for fire zone signage to be installed to further identify the fire zones. When I was out at the site, I noted the faded crosswalk markings at the main entry will need to be shown as being redone. The handicap parking stalls and aisles are striped in white. They really should be redone in blue, and a detail provided. I didn't note a lot of faded parking lot striping, but I would recommend a note on the plan indicating that any faded parking lot striping will be redone. And just a notation regarding the dimensions of the parking stalls. I think they're probably fine, but it's just good to have on the plan. Also, for the adjacent former Sports Authority application, we had indicated that the main driveway striping and turning arrows needed to be redone, and they were including that on their application because they were also including on their application a new sign, freestanding sign on this property that would have signage for stores on their property. But since I don't know whose plan is going through first and they have this operations and maintenance agreement, I'm suggesting that they show it on this plan as well, and even that it be done prior to any site plan approval if possible, because it really is a safety issue. I know one of the planning board members had indicated that they would like charging stations for electric vehicles, and I did communicate with the attorney, and I'm sure he'll get into that a little bit when he speaks on the project. As far as the Architectural Review Board, I know the board is aware that there was some of the board members wanted less red on the new facade, and the ARB agreed with that. And they said new color scheme is okay, but only one red panel at the right side. Second red panel at left side is not approved to be same color as surrounding gray tones. And that was kind of unclear to me because there were several surrounding gray tones, and the initial plan had shown a gray band under the red panel on the left. So I did email the ARB the revised elevations, and I think 2 or 3 of them have come back and said that they feel it's fine. So I'll confirm that with them. I did make a note that they need to get sign permits. I spoke to the secretary for the ARB, and they were looking at the signage. So if they come back saying everything's okay on the latest elevations, I'm going to assume that means the signage is okay as well. But like I said, they need to get permits for that. As far as lighting goes, everything has to be compliant with dark skies code. They are showing new lighting for the parking lot with a maximum mounting height of 16 feet. All the fixtures in the parking lot are 3,000 Kelvin, which complies with the code. However, the lighting plan doesn't include anything on the existing building mounted fixtures or the decorative pole-mounted fixtures that are along the front sidewalk, right in front of the building. So they are required to show information on existing lighting on the site plan as well. When I went out to the site and I double-checked the pictures, looks like there's 4 types of fixtures that are not included on the lighting plan. 3 building-mounted fixtures and the decorative pole-mounted fixtures. There was a floodlight type of lights by the loading area, several building-mounted lights over egress doorways, and it looked like another type of light on either side of the main entrance to the building. Also, the soffit lighting that they're saying is going to be done, that information should also be provided on the lighting plan. And they did provide me a sheet from, it looks like, the approval in 2002 with 2 catalog numbers circled. However, only 2 fixtures were noted out of the 4. One of the catalog numbers, I was able to look it up online, but it didn't match anything that was on the building. So it really wasn't that helpful. Also, the lighting plan is in color. They use different colors to differentiate between different areas and calculation points and pole locations. So that's fine if they're going to give us color Mylar, but if not, they should really differentiate these areas and items differently. As far as landscaping went, the landscaping really wasn't too bad, except as you come in the main driveway and you come into the site, there's a very long island that goes east-west that just has trees and mulch. So I recommended that that be landscaped. Also, to the south portion of the parking lot closest to Route 58, there were a lot of islands that, I think there were 7, that really were missing plantings besides the trees. You could tell there had been plantings there, but because there were 1 or 2 scraggly looking things, but that they really needed to be beefed up. So the applicant is proposing that, but they had indicated, I think it was 50 plantings on that long island at the end of the driveway, and then only 10, I believe, on the rest of the islands in the parking area. So I think that's insufficient. So I gave some recommendations about, giving us the, providing more plantings, providing the distance between the plantings. And then the plantings proposed, they can grow up to 8 feet high. So unless they're going to propose to keep them at 3 feet, I think they should provide something different that doesn't grow as high, because it's a site issue. And then I think all the islands are irrigated, but I'm not positive of that. So I would like them to put just a notation that it's either provided or it will be provided.
Well, question, do you know whether you're sprinkled in that shopping center? I would
It is
think you
irrigated,
are.
yes.
Is that on town water, or do they have their own irrigation well?
I don't know the answer to that.
I'm
Because,
assuming, since it's an older site, it probably doesn't have an irrigation well.
Perhaps we should, try to put some shrubs in there that would need a lot less water, because, right now, we probably all are reading about what's going on in the water department, they've got an issue, and I don't know how feasible it would be. I don't have any idea of the cost, but, might be something to look into, put an irrigation well in there, everything is in. You'd probably save yourself some dollars over the long term, for sure. And look at some shrubs that may not require as much water. I don't know if everybody agrees with that.
No, I would agree, the low
No.
moisture, landscaping is the way to go. I'm just not sure about a well because of the depth over there. It may be cost prohibitive, but definitely the low moisture landscaping.
Okay, so that, the whole board wants, okay.
Maybe just take a look and see.
Yeah, no,
you know.
yeah.
I mean, if an irrigation well makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. But I still feel that, you know, putting in shrubs that require less water would certainly help. You know, to water, you know, don't have to use as much.
Right. Okay,
The
and
other
then,
question,
sure, go
one
ahead.
last question I have, while we're in there, is are these containers still all in place?
I was gonna
Have they removed?
get to that
Yeah.
on the next.
Okay, sorry, don't wanna jump ahead,
That's
go ahead,
okay.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, on the bottom of page 6, you kinda can see the entrance driveway where the double yellow line is basically worn off. So that really needs to get done. As far as, the existing parking lot customer pickup area, there's this signage post or tower with, it's solar powered, so I believe it's, internally illuminated. I don't believe that has a sign permit, so they need to, obtain that. The fire marshal, besides the, fire zone comments that I noted before, they said that all the storage containers located behind the store in the, fire zone had to be removed. They did issue a notice of violation on June 16th, but they were still there. And then as far as other town departments, the town engineer had no comments. Building department had some preliminary comments in an email that the EPIS refreshing the panels would include some minor framing, and that the amortization period for the town dark sky ordinance ended in December 2017, so that all exterior lighting, site and building mounted, would have to comply with the code. Since Brad left, I didn't get any additional comments. The title report, I actually got word today that everything's okay with the title report. Suffolk County DPW did have some comments about revising the plan to show ADA compliant handicapped ramps and sidewalk along the entire frontage, and they wanted pedestrian upgrades and signal modifications at the traffic signal. And I just wanted to mention, I thought it was a little strange that the Sports Authority, former Sports Authority project to the west, DPW had a comment about doing a description of the area to be dedicated and that an impact fee would be required, which wasn't included in comments for Target. So I'm not sure why that's the case, but the applicant or their attorney might want to reach out to DPW just to make sure there's nothing that was overlooked. That's about it. So I think with the revised site plan and lighting plan, we could hopefully do a resolution.
Is this the revised site plan now?
That's the one I reviewed, that I got on July 12th.
So it doesn't need to be, there's no amendments needed to it?
No, what I'm saying is, the report is based on that
Okay, so they're gonna
plan.
have to
I reviewed
do it
that
anyway.
plan. So everything in the report is based on the plan you have.
Okay, do you want me to go through it, page by page? I made a
Well-
lot of notes while she was talking, so I'll try to be as quick as I can. As far as the colors that were confusing, we're gonna replace those with symbols on your lighting plan.
The lighting plan.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the existing lighting under that, an article that you're citing in the report, that section does provide town discretion to waive this requirement on existing lighting, so are you
I
electing?
don't know if that's the case.
We've been requiring it for everybody that's come in, so.
I'm talking about on the existing facade lighting, not the,
Oh, okay.
not the parking lot. We're definitely doing the parking lot lighting.
Can you tell us what
The solar one?
section you're referring to?
I'm referring to that article that you, what
Well,
is that?
Article XLIX, but
Yeah.
I meant what section?
Oh, I don't know right off the top of my head, I just, was reading through this section, there was it provides discretion, so if you don't wanna, you know, if you wanna force it.
I don't think it does, but maybe we could look into that, I don't think it does.
I'll take a look at that again, I think I saw that when I was going through, so,
But let me just follow up on that a little bit. The reason that it's so difficult for us to provide it is that the lights that are part of the original plan are discontinued. So I can't get information about the photometrics of them, so we can't model it.
Well, the one light that I was able to get the spec sheet online, that's not what's actually there.
And that's
So
the
at
other
some
problem.
point, more recently, somebody replaced a lot of all of the lighting fixtures over the egress doors. So I would hope that Target or someone would have that information.
we're gonna try to, I mean, we just got this yesterday, so we're gonna try to find more information on that.
And those lights are shrouded, so they,
Right, they looked to be full cut-off LEDs, so the only thing that would really be potentially problematic was the Kelvin rating, most likely. But I really can't say without getting a spec on it.
And the soffit lighting is recessed, so there's no opportunity to impact dark skies, so I don't.
Can't
But I
get the
mean-
model right off the unit itself to research it?
we can try. You know, it's the bulb, and so the bulb can be changed pretty readily. So I mean, we can do it, but I can't guarantee that it's not gonna change in the future, and so that's why we're asking
Well, that would be a site plan violation if you change that. I think we just gotta get all on the same
We'll
page,
get as
make
much
sure it's
information
clear.
as we can get together, and
Yeah.
we'll provide it to Karen. Like I said, we just started working on this last night.
Yeah, I mean, the soffit lighting is new, so I don't think there should be any issue with
Yeah,
getting
we
a
have
spec
no
sheet
problem providing the information on
providing that
the new lighting.
information on the lighting plan.
As far as the survey, we're going to amend the site plan to show things, but we'll submit an as-built survey, maybe that could be a condition of CO.
Yeah, we'd prefer to capture all of the improvements that we're making in it.
In the final, so we'll deliver an as-built at the end of this.
Typically, we get a site plan that shows all the, indicating that striping will be done and all of that on a site plan. Right now, I have a survey that's not even accurate to existing conditions, so.
Should get as close as possible
Yeah.
before we do the preliminary.
Well,
Well,
survey is a
it'll
little,
just be an administrative.
the site plan can be less, the survey has to meet a higher standard, whereas the site plan can be a less. I think we can do the amended site plan
Yeah, we can do
to
the.
show everything.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. We got a survey that was being used as a site plan, but it wasn't accurate and it didn't show the improvements that should be made. So if you provide me with a site plan that shows everything as it is and showing the improvements, that's fine.
Okay, and then we'll submit at the end, an amended an as-built survey showing completion.
Right, like you would normally.
Yes.
As part of your inspection request.
Right, so we can amend the site plan, it won't be as accurate as
Right.
the as-built survey at the end.
Right, I mean, it should be accurate to what's there. It should show the fire zone striping, the target customer pickup area, the sign in the parking lot for that, and then show things that you are going to do. to
So
comply.
those are the only two things that are missing from this plan that are existing. It's the order pickup area here and the existing faded fire lane here. So if
Right,
we
and
add that
then you
to-
would show that you're going to
Right.
Yeah, we
you
could do
would
a
provide.
striping plan, would you put like a sheet showing a striping plan of everything we're going to add to the site?
You can do it all on one plan. You can show what's existing, and
Okay.
then show what you're going to
Okay.
Okay.
I can
redo
do this one.
on one plan, on one site plan.
Okay.
As for the charging stations, we did speak directly to Target. They are willing to do charging stations, but it's gonna take some time. the charging stations themselves, the vendors for the charging stations, and Kevin could speak to this better than I can.
Yeah,
There's some
there's-
progress being made in the industry, and they're going from these longer phase charging stations that take 2 hours to the 30-minute charging stations. And the whole industry's changing over right now. So we have to get, and this is a third-party vendor, so Kevin could speak to.
Yeah, so they are doing it in some of the Target stores around the country. It's not part of their program right now, but in certain cases they are doing it. They're in the middle of changing to the more updated technology, which is a fast charge, but that requires primary service. So it's independent of Target's service for the building. They've got to bring new service from the right-of-way, which requires the coordination with the power provider. They've got to find a location for a step-down transformer, so there's a lot more coordination, and it's not something that we can add to this application, the sign refresh program, but Target is willing to commit to it with a deadline.
Chris, how about the bricks exchanging, switching gears a minute? There's 2 of them, I think, in service there, in Brixmore.
I don't know if there's 2, or I thought there were more than that, but
There was supposed to be more.
there's only 2?
Yeah, we checked. We only see
All
2
the way
on the
down
north
the
end.
end as you drive
Oh,
in.
but I think they're gonna put more in the front when they finish
The other building.
The building E, yeah, the one up in the front, there's gonna be more in the front. There's some in
That's-
the back, and there's supposed to be, I think 2 in the back, 2 in the front. I think there were supposed to be 4 total,
Something like that, yeah.
yeah. I don't know what they're doing when they're doing the front, but I know they're working on the front buildings right now,
So they intend to stick with the 4.
yes.
Okay.
And Brixmore.
So what would be a reasonable date for you to have them installed?
2024,
2024?
yeah, in order for them to get the agreements in place, they don't have any of these discussions even started yet, so they'd have to
5 years?
find the vendor, then get the approvals from the power company, and then proceed with the construction plans.
And we'd have to come back in with another plan. We'd have to amend the site plan again.
Yeah, they typically are using 10 spaces. In order for it to be economically feasible, they need, more than 3 or 4.
And they said they would be willing to do that, but that's gonna take them a while. Plus, they haven't decided on the vendor they're gonna use.
No, they don't have any relationship with anyone at the moment that they,
And of course, then we'd have to make application to PSEG and get approval for, primary line.
Well, I don't have a problem with giving you time to do it aside from this application, but I think 5 years is a long time.
Well, if you wanna place some kind of that's what Target gave us when we spoke to them yesterday on the phone. If we wanna try to make if you wanna put some, deadline on it, less than 5 years.
I was thinking 6 months.
You're not even gonna get an agreement with PSEG.
Well,
in
that's
6
because you wanna
months.
go to the new technology, and you're
Yeah.
waiting for it to develop, as
Right.
opposed to putting something in that works now, and then maybe adapting it when that new technology becomes available.
well, that's the problem. It's a difference between line service and secondary service, primary and secondary.
I don't know how valuable the current technology would be. I mean, the average customer who shops at Target, you're probably there 30 minutes. If you came in an electric vehicle, you'd want your car to charge in 30 minutes. You wouldn't wanna have it plugged in for 2 hours. So, I don't know.
I don't know, how do the rest of you guys feel?
Planet Fitness, that next door is the ideal situation. It's probably the average time somebody's in here is an hour.
Right.
Yeah,
I know you are.
this wasn't
Yeah.
brought up for that application.
Hour and
If the board
15
wants,
minutes.
them to do that as well.
Can you
we
check
have
back
to
with Target
dis-
and see if you can
Discuss that.
compromise a
Yes.
little bit better?
We'll try to,
Mhm.
we'll try to work a shorter time frame, okay?
All right, that's
5
fine.
years,
they wanna
you know
go-
How much technology could change.
They wanna go
That'd
with
be
the
obsolete in
most
5
advanced
years.
technology. So I know what you're saying, do what you can do now and then do it again later. We'll try to see if they're willing to do that, but I think they wanna
Yeah.
work towards,
It's,
they're looking to do something nationwide, it's not just this location. So, as he's saying, the program, Target refreshes are nationwide, it's a nationwide program. So,
All right, well, let us know.
Okay, so you don't want to include any sort of,
They're gonna get back to us.
okay.
so the striping plan will show the blue for the white and the handicap spaces, so we'll put together some kind of a striping. do you guys wanna do the band or not do the Revere Pewter Band?
No, I explained, the ARB, I emailed the elevations to the ARB, and they, so far, like, 2 have gotten back to me, and they said they're fine with it as is shown,
With no band?
with no band, so
Okay.
as long as
We
they come back and say.
actually looked into the band.
You
I mean,
want the band?
Well, we asked the architect whether that was an oversight or was that what their intention was, and they said that was their intention. However, if the board wants the
Okay.
band, then we'll
Yeah,
let the
so
band
far,
know,
they
so.
seem okay with it, so if there's, you know, if something else happens, I'll let you know, but I'll let you know either way.
Okay, so we'll look into whether, the options of installing an irrigation well or, going to less, water-reliant, landscaping. So that's something we can look into.
Yeah, you know, the landscaping is, we looked at what was there, and so we were trying to use the same plant palette just so that it didn't look odd. That plant is there. I totally agree that it's not the greatest option. So if that's acceptable, we'll propose something that's more drought tolerant, and we'll stay lower, and we'll try to find something native.
As far as the striping in the access way, we will be ahead of, Sons of Riverhead.
Okay,
I mean, we're talking about doing this, you know, starting in the fall. So I'm
Okay.
sure we'll be ahead of them.
yeah, just show it on the plan, and if you can do it before then, that would be even better.
Yeah, we're planning on it. We have our application into Suffolk County Department of Public Works, that we've already received first round of comments back. We've already resubmitted. Sean Mulryan is the, traffic engineer. He's already resubmitted based on the comments received. And I put a call in to DPW today to Bob Hillman to find out what was going on the review of the resubmission, but they didn't get back to me yet. But that's ongoing, and we understand what's required. As far as the internally lit sign that's solar powered, we'll amend the sign permit application to make it part of this application. Okay. I did check with the town attorney's office, and they have accepted on the title, they've signed
Yep,
off.
that's what I said.
Okay.
You skipped over the containers in the back.
Oh, not yet, oh, yeah, I did, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. The containers are still there. Target is aware.
Yeah,
Kevin was at the site today and contacted them again, told them that this is holding up their site plan approval. This is what we told them.
Well, it will.
Yeah.
communicated it to them.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that's everything. Anything else you got?
No, that's it.
So we're close to, I mean, we'll make the changes, we'll resubmit. So we didn't submit you 7 yet, we've been just sending them into you electronically, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can also give me like a hard copy too, because sometimes it's easier just to look at a
Yeah,
hard
yeah, I
copy than a.
understand. So this is good though, now we'll have a more finished product to submit a hard copy to you,
Okay,
probably by Monday, I would imagine. Kevin, what do you
Yeah, early next week for sure.
think? Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 498 Main Road LLC.
We'll get there. All right, so the planning department has received a site plan application proposing to convert an existing 1,327 square foot, single-family residence into a professional office, and to convert an existing 794 square foot detached accessory structure into a small retail store, along with associated parking, landscaping, sanitary, and lighting improvements. The subject parcel is located at 498 Main Road in Aquabog, on the north side of Main Road, directly across the street from the Aquabog School. The property is presently improved with a 2-story, 1,327 square foot single-family residence and a detached 794 square foot accessory structure. And there is also a detached 8 by 12 foot shed in close proximity to the western property line.
Can that be converted to retail too?
All structures on the site have a letter of pre-existing use, which was actually just issued on July 11th of this year. Property is located within the Hamlet Center zoning district, where offices and retail stores are an as-of-right permitted use. On page 2 of the staff report, I just got pictures of the existing structure and the detached structure, and then on page 3, there's the existing shed. Pursuant to SECR, it is a type 2 action, construction or expansion of a primary accessory non-residential structure involving less than 4,000 square foot of gross floor area and not involving a change in zoning or use variance, and it is consistent with local land use controls. The site plan is proposing to widen the existing curb cut from State Route 25 to serve as ingress and egress to and from the site. As it currently is being proposed, the driveway is 16 feet. Although Town Code Section 301-231E2 requires a 24-foot wide driveway where there is two-way traffic, the planning board has previously approved site plans to convert existing single-family residences to office and commercial use. One example being recently the Masson residence office conversion, which is a little bit farther down on the main road. That was approved by the planning board February 21st of this year by resolution 19-15. It is noted that any work within the state right-of-way as well as the widened curb cut will require a permit from the New York State Department of Transportation. In terms of parking and traffic circulation, the site plan proposes 10 parking spaces on site, which complies with the parking schedule of the town code, and all spaces are proposed to be 10 by 20. Now, just in terms of traffic circulation and safety on the site, I mean, there's no way to get around it. This is a small site. Traffic circulation is sort of tight. The first 2 parking spaces immediately when you pull into the site on the western side, they lack the required 24-foot drive aisle between there, just based on the location of the curbing and the walkway and the fact that the site is pretty tight. So this non-conforming situation would require relief from the Riverhead Zoning Board of Appeals if it is not able to be addressed through redesign. Now, I mean, just in terms of the use and the traffic circulation, and with those 2 parking spaces being right in front of the driveway, the planning board should consider this and whether the mixed use and the intensity of the use is appropriate given the size of the site and the configuration of it. It's sort of an irregular shaped triangle parcel, which tapers back as you go off towards the north. Regarding landscaped buffers, town code requires a landscaped buffer area of at least 10 feet in width whenever a business or industrial use joins a residential use. Code requires that the plantings be evergreen shrubs which shall maintain a height of not less than 8 feet and provide a effective natural screen. Now, the eastern property boundary is shared with a multi-building office complex, and does not require this 10-foot buffer, but to the west of this subject parcel, there is an existing 2-family residence. Just based on the size of the site, again, it doesn't look like they'll be able to provide a 10-foot buffer, so they would require relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals. However, that being said, the plan should be revised to, they could put in a landscaped buffer of evergreens in order to help facilitate that natural buffer. I would recommend that be shown on the plan before they go forward with the zoning board. I think it may just help their case to the zoning board in getting that relief. In terms of proposed landscaping, the site plan proposes minimal landscaping on site, which mainly consists of a bed of perennials with a mulch bedding around the base of a proposed sign, which is going to...
Is this landscaping?
Whose
is that?
That's existing. It's not shown on the plan. It may straddle the...
Would it be these folks, their hedges? Or is it on the property itself?
I don't know if it's...
You're gonna redesign, or you're gonna get a variance for the driveway?
I wanted, I can redesign it. Still about a couple of spaces that would be
That would be
parallel.
over in this
I had
section.
two parallel
It's not shown
spaces
in the
I can
survey,
make
so
it
I don't
work.
know
What
who's,
is
I
the
don't know who's
proposed
property
retail
line.
space, do you know?
Just a small, like, knick-knack shop or whatever.
Alright, so yeah, the proposed landscaping mainly consists of a bed of perennials in a mulch bed around the base of the proposed sign, which is proposed in front of the existing building. And 8 winterberry bushes around the base of the office building, and 7 arborvitae to help screen the dumpster enclosure. Being that the landscape on this existing site is minimal, on page 5, I took a street level view of the existing site. I mean, there's nothing in front of that building right now. Planning board should consider additional plantings, street trees, more landscaped beds, et cetera, in order to help beautify the property along its street frontage. Regards to lighting, applicant did submit a photometric lighting plan which complies with the lighting requirements of the town code, but there are several things which must be clarified. It is unclear if the proposed fixtures are dark sky compliant or if the color temperature complies with the 3,000 degree Kelvin color requirement. The number and types of fixtures do not accurately correspond between the site plan and the lighting plan. Sheet SP1 of the site plan indicates 2 different types of fixtures, L1 and L2, and they just don't correspond to the lighting plan. And the number of fixtures is inconsistent. The lighting plan shows 11, and the site plan only shows 10. So I don't know if something just got mixed up between layers, but that's something that needs to be clarified, and both plans should correspond properly to each other.
Whose stockade fence is that? Who owns that one? That's right on the property.
The stockade fence is right on the
property
proper line.
So whose is it?
I
Because
don't
it ends,
know.
I think it ends, and then those shrubs that I was talking about
Mhm.
continue.
I don't wanna put Mr. Ellis, if a fence is exactly on a property line, who owns it? Maybe we can think of,
Now that's exactly on the property line, it's gonna be.
Somebody built it.
One way.
Somebody built it.
Somebody put it there, find out who put it there.
Alright, I mean, I can research that issue and get you an answer.
Generally, the clear side would be for these guys, and the chances are they put it up.
Marty? The office use in the front is 2-story. Is it gonna be open to the public on the 2nd story?
It would be a professional office use, it's tended to be a law office,
Okay.
so it's not, no public use on
No
the second
public use on the
floor,
2nd floor?
correct.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah, the whole, in initial iterations of the plan, it was proposed the first floor was gonna be office, the second floor was gonna be apartment. That would've triggered sprinkler requirements, so as of right now, the floor plan is demonstrating that both floors, first and second, will be office use. And they've parked it accordingly, according to the whole building being office
Thank you.
use.
If we utilize the upper level for like file storage and whatnot, that would change our parking requirement also. I have a couple of questions unless you, the
Yeah, I mean,
board
if you
has
wanna
questions first.
That's fine, I only had a couple of more things. but
Okay,
if you
actually,
wanna-
no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Alright, so the sidewalk, site plan doesn't clearly indicate if the sidewalk along the frontage with State Route 25 will be replaced. It is likely that the DOT will require, it'll be a requirement. The site plan has been referred to the DOT, we have not gotten comments back yet. That's kind of been a pattern we've had lately. So it's recommended that the applicant coordinate with the DOT as soon as possible to address these issues.
What about the sidewalk? 'Cause it appears from this photo that there is a sidewalk there.
Yeah.
There is a sidewalk and it's not in terrible condition, but I don't know what the DOT may require it to be replaced. Dumpster enclosure is being proposed on a 6x6 concrete pad with a 6-foot chain link fence with green privacy slats and a row of 7 arborvitaes. Now the 7 arborvitaes are proposed on the western and northern boundary of the dumpster enclosure. I would just recommend some on the southern just to screen it from the view of the road. There is a note on the plan about proposed gas service, taking into account the current moratorium on new natural gas hookups imposed by National Grid. I think now is the time for the applicant to consider alternative options, a propane tank, in the event that natural gas service is unavailable to the site. Mr. Bayer, to that question of the shed, the 8x12 shed on the western property boundary, there is no proposed use of this shed. That would be a recommendation. If it's going to remain, I would recommend it should be sided and it should match the elevations of the building and the detached structure, because as of right now, it just looks like painted T111 siding and it's sort of out of character with the rest of the site. So, staff would recommend removal of it if there's no proposed clear use of it, and if it's gonna stay, it should be clad like the rest of the site. Now, there were building permits that were pulled on this property to do interior work. They were pulled while the building was a residence. So the application will be referred to the Architectural Review Board for their review and comments, and for the planning board to consider. But a lot of this work was done under a residential permit, and now they're going to convert it to a commercial use. Town engineer had a couple of comments regarding thickness of course of the driveway, and some drainage comments which the applicant can address. Again, it will be referred to DOT. Town attorney has reviewed a title report and did not find any restrictive covenants or easements which would prohibit the execution of the proposed site plan. The application was referred to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. They considered it to be a matter for local determination. Suffolk County Health Department Services wastewater management approval will be required for new on-site sanitary system. And I have not gotten comments yet back from the Riverhead Water District or the Fire Marshal's office. So in closing, staff recommendations, the issues with the parking and the buffers will need to be addressed or relief granted from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Issues must be clarified regarding the lighting plan and the shed structure, and then additional landscaping per the planning board's requested recommendations.
Question, on the accessory structure here, what about, sanitary?
Actually, I can answer that. Just to update where we are currently with the entire project, the DOT application is pending. We submitted that to them after the referral was made by the town. We received back their comments. What the improvements are going to include is improving the entryway with a concrete apron.
They were okay with the width of it?
Yes.
Can you share that with us?
Sure, I will. Matter of fact, I will, I have their comments from the DOT, so I can get that information to you. So we have to replace the apron with a concrete apron. We have to cut back a portion of the sidewalk on each side. The existing sidewalk will stay, but we're gonna cut back like 10 feet on each side to, splay it into the new apron. And we're gonna curb the width of the front of the property. Those are all, we had received their comments. We haven't resubmitted to them yet, but we have received their comments for the road work to be done on the roadway. Once we get that back to them, we do anticipate getting a preliminary approval on that. Suffolk County Health Department, they've actually approved the sanitary system, so the sanitary system's approved, but they cannot release it until they get the secret determination from the town. So it's just ready, we just gotta get the secret determination.
That includes the structure in the back?
Yes, it does. Includes both structures, that is correct.
Exactly, you're gonna use the back piece for accessory.
Basically, it's gonna be a small retail shop. It could be, like a little knick-knack shop, an antique shop, whatever. It's a pretty sound building. It's wide open inside. You're gonna have a small bathroom in it and just a little retail use. As far as the circulation, I'm sorry, let me go back to the other ones. We will consider the LP tank, obviously, if required, based on the moratorium. So we would just go to LP, bury a tank.
How is the house currently heated?
The house is currently heated with, it does have gas, does it? What does it have?
We have the last gas line.
Oh, there, it is connected to
You'd
gas,
be
so
okay then.
I think they'll be able to keep the gas because they already have a
Yeah,
service.
they would be, you might be able to do the hookup.
Right,
Right.
and if not, we could use the LP, so we'll manage either way, it'll be the gas or the LP. As far as the driveway spec, we'll certainly, make sure that meets the code, the drainage in the driveway, we'll make those revisions. We actually received, and I don't know how, for some reason, a copy didn't go to your office, but we actually received the approval for the water service and the RPZ. That work was actually done, because we put a new water service into the building, that all went through, Mark over at the Water District, that went to the, County Health Department in Yaphank, and they approved the water installation and the RPZ, so that work's actually completed. So that is done and previously approved. We will omit the shed. They hadn't done anything to it, it's sort of fallen down, so the shed will go. We'll definitely omit that. The Lighting does comply with the dark skies in terms of the types of fixtures, we can clarify that, but we have a question, and that is, and I think this had to do a little bit with the count, because I don't think we really wanna include as much lighting as we show. For example, this is an area that's along the, through Aquabog, and in the way it looks, we think that the lighting might be out of place, so I don't know if there's a requirement for us to light the driveway and do full lighting. It's really not clear to us what is the requirement for that, is there?
I looked at the code, cause I spoke with Arthur earlier today, I mean, the code doesn't dictate exactly where fixtures need to go. There are minimum and maximum lighting levels that are established, that need to be maintained throughout the site, but in terms of the code, it doesn't specifically say that a
Right.
driveway needs to be lit, or
Okay.
a certain area needs to be
I
lit.
think the
so,
parking area and the pedestrian area is the one that's gotta be lit, okay?
I mean, just in terms of public safety,
Right,
I mean,
mhm.
you don't want it to be just completely dark. There are hours of operation
Right.
limits, so I mean, it's not that this thing is gonna be operating overnight. But, there should be an adequate level of lighting on site just to provide
Okay.
safety.
Because I think what we'll probably do is we'll probably update the lighting where we just do a decorative post in front, sort of by the front sidewalk, which is a nice, makes it sort of fall in with the residential look. And then around the side, we could put a downlight LED on the sidewalk, so you can get to the back without any problem, without any other lighting on the driveway. And then with that, we could probably then just go ahead and put in, 2 fixtures and keep them to the east side by the commercial with full cutoffs. So I think what's gonna end up is we're gonna end up with much less lighting, and then we'll revise that. But I had that question about the driveway, and if we can do it that way, it would be better.
I mean,
So-
I do agree that, you wanna sort of retain the quaint, country
Okay.
aspect of it. You don't want the site to be overlit, so.
Okay,
Revise the lighting plan, submit it, and, we'll take a look, as long
Okay.
as it complies with the permitted lighting levels.
okay,
I
all
think
right,
that
so,
should be
so we'll do that. I think that would be a much better plan. I think that would, fit in better. As far as the circulation, and the buffer, the first question I have is about the buffer. Is that something that requires zoning board of appeals, or is it something that there's discretional relief on that?
It didn't say that there was any discretion in it, and we've had other projects that I'm worked on for the town board, where they've either had to redesign or go for relief.
Okay, if we were to leave the parking configuration the way we show it in terms of or the buffer, I shouldn't say parking, the buffer as it's shown, is that something that is there a staff report or something from the planning department that goes to the zoning board that would say that it's looked at either favorably or unfavorably in terms of how the development fits in with the surrounding area? Because I know in a lot of, areas they do provide that, say, yeah, we've looked at the site plan and it's reasonable. I don't know if that's.
I mean, I don't know if that recommendation would come from planning staff, or it's something that would, get approval and authorization for the planning board to give that recommendation. I mean, if you came in with a plan that showed a row of evergreens, now, I mean, you may only have, 3 or 4 feet here. I mean, if you showed a row 4 foot of evergreens, 8 foot high, I mean, if the planning board finds that that's acceptable, they may be able to issue a recommendation, but, I don't think the planning board really has any direct involvement with the ZBA in that sense.
Right, no, exactly, I understand. I guess what I'm trying to get from the board then would be, if we don't have a full buffer, but we can do
Make it work.
arborvitae-type landscaping along that side property line, I mean, is that something that, if we would go to the zoning board, not that I'm saying we are, because I have some other thoughts, but would that be something that we could at least maybe ask,
Are
see
we
if the board
talking
would?
about the west side, where the other?
Yeah, the
West side,
western
correct,
property.
that is
sure.
correct.
So maybe,
That's where that picture is,
I think it's on page 2.
on,
Page 2.
actually, if you look at page,
Page five.
page 4, that's,
The client, I think, is.
Yeah, figure
The sparse hedges, is that what you're talking
right, okay. Okay, so these privets were planted by my client. The fence was there, that was existing, so.
Well, I mean, but the vegetation is, I mean, those trees, the picture, they probably, I mean,
So you coordinated that with the neighbor before you proposed this, right?
Well, they basically, when they bought the property, they added, just this privet along the one side, it's shown as, it's a picture when there's no leaves on the trees.
Right,
That's-
but again, that's
pretty bare.
before you're proposing what you have in front of us.
Yeah,
so
exactly,
Maybe the
exactly.
neighbors
That is
would want
correct.
a arborvitae row.
That is, yeah, so, It's just, I mean, that would be something that we would definitely have to do with the buffer regardless on that side. I'm just wondering what first I wanted to know if there was any discretion, and if there's not, my client would have to decide if they would wanna go for relief and, you know, what are the odds of getting it? To me, it would seem that if it's, you know, reasonable, because some areas we have 10 feet, some we don't, it might be doable. But then my real question comes down to the circulation of the 2 parking spaces. And what, is that something that there's no discretion on that at all, or?
I mean, that's something I think that's unavoidable. I mean, town code does require 24 foot. As I said, we had approved other site plans.
For driveways, but not for,
There was
I
a
know for
recent one.
parking, backing in and out is a set dimension. That's one that's of more concern, I think.
I think I'd have to do a little bit
Right.
of looking at the code. I wouldn't have an answer for you
Okay.
right now, but we can work that out.
The only reason I asked that question is because I was thinking about it, and if we took the front 2 parking spaces, which are actually closer to the closest area where the buffer is, and we turned those to parallel spaces. You know, people come in, we do have a turnaround area where the dumpster is, and I believe that the owner would probably end up utilizing those spaces, because I believe the property is gonna be owner occupied as far as the office is concerned. So if we had 2 parallel spaces on one side of the driveway, I know that they have been utilized on some of these sites that are very tight, that would then eliminate that short area in that corner of the parking lot. So everything would be the width, the only difference would be you would have these 2 would be parallel.
How many can
Parking.
you get there on the west side?
Excuse me?
How many can you get there on the west?
I would get 2. I would take the 2 spots that are not compliant, and I would turn them into 2 parallel spots, and then all of the,
They'll put it
that
down there.
takes out that roadway issue, so it would be compliant.
Makes sense.
I mean, I would think if you sketch something up and get us
Right.
a, proposal, the board can.
But there's
consider.
no issue with a parallel spot, though. I know we've used them in other locations.
I know the code does allow for parallel parking to be used at the board's discretion.
Okay, all right.
Do they have to be set back off the state right away by a certain distance?
I'll have to look at that, I would advise the applicant.
Just the 16 feet at that entrance seems tight to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I referenced a previous application, it was slightly different in the Masson residence in that the
Right.
traffic circulated around the house, so it sort of separated that two-way traffic. But I mean, this is, in and out, and that's gonna, it could pose some
I mean,
congestion.
what we
issues.
could do is we could widen that to go to like a 20-foot, which gives you 2 full 10-foot aisle widths. And that doesn't affect us as far as parking, because we can taper that
Yep.
as we go up.
That would help.
That would help, okay. That's a real easy one, because we're actually just finishing the DOT plan to go back to them, and if I taper that, they're gonna obviously not, have concern about it being better. They were gonna approve the 16, but if we make it 20, it should work out fine. And then the last question I have is with regard to if there is no discretion on the buffer, I was looking at a fully compliant plan, where essentially we would have the same thing. I would widen the driveway to 20 feet. And essentially what I would do is, this is the 10-foot line right here, right here is 10 feet. So if I literally just took this curb line and I kicked it at 10 feet, we then have the 10-foot buffer. I have 4 spots here, plus the dumpster area, which I want to keep because that also gives a good turnaround area. I have the 2 parallel spots, so people come in, turn around, they can come up here, back in, and then pull out. And then I have these parking spaces I would just have to shift to maintain the 24-foot aisle. And what I could do on this, which I sort of like the idea of, is I could actually increase the aisle width here to a wider than 24 feet, so that there's good circulation, especially when people have to come in, we have an area where they can turn around, but they have to maneuver a little bit, so you like it to be comfortable and not too tight. I can make this work and meet all of the requirements, as long as I can get the parallel spots to.
If you bring that in for your 10 feet, how do you gain here? If you move
I
this in?
basically, this area, these would pivot this way.
Oh.
And then this here is, I would pivot this also. I would take this parking,
Pivot, I see.
and I would pivot this parking, slide it out, because I have room over on this side. And I could just, where the handicap ramp is, which is not constructed, but it would be part of the plan. I would just basically shift that over a little bit to make room for it, and then I can comply completely with the zoning, as long as I can have discretion on these two parallel spots, then we're good to go.
I mean, until we see an action, I mean, this is interesting to me up here, utilizing this space up here, because I just think you have, I mean, it is a tight site, you know, to have people coming in, pulling around, backing up, parallel parking here where you've got a car right here, it seems like it could be very tight. If there's any way to somehow utilize and park back here, free up the site a little bit, make it a little more traffic, you know, circulation friendly, I mean, I think that might be appropriate, just given the size and shape of the parcel and.
I mean, what I
And
could
mixed
do,
use.
the other thing I could do, would be, if we did that, and we came in with, like, if I still kept 3 spaces here, because I could get 3 spaces to comply, right here, so I have 3 here. I would still keep the dumpster here up in the front, because it's in an area that's out of the way. And then what I would do is continue this curb line back, Colleen, which is what we discussed, putting some parking in the back, okay? And then if I loop around here, I can then put 3 spaces, I don't know if I like the dumpster all the way back there, for convenience, it's just way out of the way. But I can get 3 spaces in the back very easily with a little, you know, turnaround area. So I would have my 3, I would have 3, that's the 6, and I would keep the 4 here, shifted the way I show it, and then I would comply if you think that's a better way to go, and then that eliminates even the question of discretion on a parallel spot. And then if that were the case, then we would be really compliant with everything. We would have the tighter driveway, but I would basically take the driveway and curve it around, and then I would splay it out at the road to get the additional width.
Enough room to pick up the dumpster in there? Enough room for the dumpster?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The dumpster.
Enough room to pick up.
Oh, the dumpster would be basically right here, or I could put the dumpster in the back. I mean, it's, you know.
What's over here?
That's the office, that set of office buildings.
It's like 3 or 4.
Donald Dennis's, or had his office and whatnot. So we can come in, we could screen this and do it that way instead of here, which is, you know, this just allows me a little striped area, easy for them to come in and maneuver, where people aren't gonna be jammed in, they don't gotta worry about hitting curbs or whatever, and they can then come in and I'll just put the dumpster around the back, hide it, and then this way we completely comply with 3 here, 3 in the back with the dumpster, these 4 comply, and I meet everything, and then I take out the whole discretionary request on parallel spots. There's parallel spots, I mean, some people are really good at them, some people are really terrible at them, you know? You know, and it seems like there's no in between, either you're good at it or you're terrible at it. So if that would be acceptable, you know, if I got an indication from the board that, because we'd have to go back and do a revision.
I think that
would be a good way
opens
to go.
everything up a little better.
Okay. I agree. All right, we'd be more than happy to accommodate that, so add a few spots in the back, as per our discussion.
And the new cars park themselves, so it's not a big.
That's
deal.
true, there you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing to consider, which, I mean, it came up in the Masson residence, I mean, requiring the extra traffic circulation may kick you into a variance situation for impervious, so I mean, keep in mind that calculation when you're designing it, but I mean, if it yields a safer site, better for traffic circulation, you know, I think that's just a better site design overall.
Yeah, and, well, we were going to, also do along the roadway, what the DOT wanted us to go back a certain distance with the concrete. And then we were gonna go to the pervious, the gravel, but we were gonna then do the paved at the handicapped only. And this site really does lend itself to that, because it's, you know, we will have the bumper curbs and set it up that way, I think would probably be a better way to
I mean,
consider going.
I think the gravel's appropriate for the area, I mean,
It
it
is,
does
yeah.
have a more, you know, more country vibe. But I think even when you do gravel, I think there was an engineering comment.
About the,
About the base,
material.
the stone blend base
Right.
essentially makes it impermeable surface.
Yes.
So they wanted you to calculate that as impervious, so. I mean, that's a question, we'd have to see a paving detail.
Yeah, I just don't wanna bump myself into,
Change of zoning is,
you know, I mean, I can go up to 60% impervious, so I'm probably okay.
Right.
So I'll
Yeah,
look at
just
it either way.
Keep it in mind, I mean,
Okay.
even if it requires a variance,
Okay.
just in terms of
I'll look at that
keeping the
either way,
site safer,
you know.
I think that's.
Maybe we do just, since the back lot would have the dumpster and 3 clearly defined, bumper curbs, you know, because people see the bumper curb and they pull up to it, then maybe from here, I could do the pervious, and then just do the stone, the true stone blend, the bluestone blend in the back.
If you're close to the
Yeah,
calculation.
okay, all right, that would be easy, okay. All right.
Okay. One more question. You said you put the water service in already for the back lot, for the back?
Actually, we put the new water service into the front building, that will be.
'Cause I saw it on this, your site, SP1,
Mhm.
you got the water meter, you got the water line listed as a 1-inch water line coming from the front building.
That is correct, yeah. It's one property, so they, when they rent the back, they'll rent it, it'll include,
So you'll
the
only have
tenant.
one, you'll only have one water service.
That is correct, that is correct.
One
We
meter.
we
One
sub-fed the
meter.
back building, because it's gonna be we're only gonna have a small, single occupant, toilet facility in it, so it's more than adequate.
Okay.
Okay.
And you'll get us the DOT and the, health department letters, right? for
Yes,
the
yes, I
break?
will. I'll get you those letters and, I'll take care of it. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
What did I do? I picked up my-
Okay, next item is 836 East Main Street.
Yeah, so this is, there's actually, the next two are just really quick discussions to bring the board back up to speed, from where we left off.
Hey, Joe.
So 836 East Main Street was a site plan application to do a mixed-use building consisting of 6,558 square feet of ground level retail and 6,780 square feet of second floor residential apartments consisting of 8 dwelling units. The planning board did hold a public hearing on this application on September 7th of 2017. At that point, there was significant local opposition from the neighbor on Prospect Place about taking access to and from the site. The applicant went back, redesigned the site to now take access off of State Route 25. That will be the only ingress and egress to the site. As a result of the reconfiguration, they ended up needing an impervious surface coverage variance. That was the only aspect of the site plan that had changed. So now we're in a position where the Zoning Board of Appeals has a reserved decision to grant that impervious variance coverage, the impervious coverage variance, but they need the planning board to issue the SECRA for the project.
Which is what our resolution is.
Correct, sir. And in the resolution, I spoke about the, the proposed uses being in character with the the uses envisioned by the town's master plan. Is referred to a number of agencies, Health Department, State DOT, Highway Department, Sewer, Water, complies with many of the dimensional requirements of the town code.
So really, the only changes was the driveways off of Prospect onto Main.
Right, and also the DOT requirement for the bus turnout. I do want to mention that at the public hearing for the BZA, there were only 2 people that spoke. One person on Prospect and the other person across the street in the apartments. They both spoke in favor of the application, provided that it was, the entrance was on Main. And we're also, part of the reasons why we're over the percentage of lot coverage is we're providing 3 extra stalls that we felt was appropriate. And they both liked that idea. So everybody was in favor of
Just
it.
a general question, like, look at the size of the apartments, from 500 square feet to 900 square feet. 500 square feet, it's a bedroom.
Yeah. Well, we have floor plans of it. Well, there's a market for them.
Sure is.
Yeah, well, you have Long Island living.
Yeah.
I mean, little studio apartments at a place like Heatherwood or a Fairfield, I mean, they get
Oh, yeah.
they get a lot of
You
money
went
for
down
them, and
from
there's
8
waiting lists.
units
so.
to 6 units, you get a decent sized apartment.
I didn't design that portion of it, so,
No,
but
that's
there's a market for those
Sure
things.
is.
All right, so as I said, again, this was just an update, because it had been a while since the board has considered this application, so access now off of
Okay.
Main Street, keep the neighbors on Prospect
Think
Place
they
happy.
I think that was pretty much the only real issue.
Yeah. And like I said, at the hearing for BZA, they really, they came out and spoke in favor of it, yeah. Of course, whenever you see anybody there getting up to speak, you figure, you get nervous,
Oh,
but,
boy.
yeah, we like this idea.
When was the public hearing?
For the planning board? September 7th, 2017.
Yeah, it was a while
I
ago.
did ask Mr. Ehlers, just about the time frame and if we needed to hold a new public hearing. Being that the substantial character of the application hasn't changed, the uses hasn't changed, it's still substantially the same application, they just relocated an entrance. I was advised that it didn't require a new
And
public.
when was the ZBA hearing?
It was last month?
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
posted the same way?
Posted, noticed,
Posted,
mailed,
noticed, and
yes.
everything, yeah, and I said there's only 2 people that showed up. So,
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
guys.
you. I still have one more, I might as well hang
Yep,
out.
and then next.
Which one, 406 Osborne?
Yeah.
Okay, 406 Osborne Avenue.
Oh, you got that one too?
Yes.
Double header for you.
Yeah. Worth coming out here.
Double header. When you go to the street fair afterwards.
Yeah, I know, yeah, almost. I just made it
Are you
through.
gonna charge both customers travel time or
Oh,
just
yeah,
one?
yeah.
Absolutely.
It just happens to be the same customer, so.
Oh, okay.
But I came through here with 4 minutes left, 4 minutes to 3, and, you know, they had all the cops were all there, ready to close down, so I just made it through.
All right, so again, another application in a similar situation requiring a variance from the zoning board of appeals for lack of required on-site parking. I believe they were missing 2 stalls. Did have a zoning board of appeals public hearing, posted, noticed. Now ZBA again is reserving the decision until we issue secra. Just a couple of updates now. The last time this was considered by the board was in November of last year. Just to bring it back up to speed, 2-story, 9,000 square foot mixed-use building with approximately 4,000 square foot of retail on the ground level, 6 residential apartments on the 2nd floor, landscaping, lighting, sanitary improvements. Now the site plan, I believe the board had been kept abreast of the changes, but for traffic circulation, they're now proposing entrance only off of Pulaski. That'll allow a garbage carter to easily access the dumpster, go out onto Osborne Avenue. Osborne Avenue will serve as ingress and egress. There were questions about the large existing trees on the western property. When they were surveyed, it was found that a majority of them were actually on the subject parcel. One was located on the neighboring house to the west. The applicant's now proposing just to remove those, we're not gonna remove those trees, obviously, and they're not gonna place a fence on the neighbor's property, so they are proposing a fence eastward of those trees, which will be retained, and they are proposing a 10-foot buffer of natural vegetation, which is required by the code. There were some issues in the first iterations of the elevations with the plans. The board was not happy with it. They had revised them. I believe the board was satisfied during the second revisions.
Do we have a copy of them here to look at?
I don't have them with me.
They did come back, I remember.
Yeah,
We were here.
yeah, the architectural review board, we have 2 from them.
So this would be Pulaski Street, and that would be Osborne.
Some ethnic architecture, but just not.
I think they did some colors first, didn't they?
We did
Yeah.
something that we liked, we all liked, yeah.
Yeah, this one also, there are 2 people that spoke at the public hearing, but they weren't in favor of it. One was, well, they were both objecting to the zoning, which nothing to do with. And the other was owner of the deli across the street. He was concerned that a restaurant or a deli may come in, but my client doesn't want to deal with that at all, deal with any restaurants
No
or
food
delis,
service.
no food service at all, so. In fact, I talked to him afterwards, and he was satisfied. He was very pleased with the application.
There's already 2 restaurants and 2
Yeah,
delis.
yeah, yeah. Doesn't make sense for us to, yeah.
So again, we do have a resolution on.
Yeah.
We do have a resolution on here,
Secret.
just to issue a secret negative declaration. In that resolution, I did just speak with the uses of the property being in conformance with the uses envisioned by the master plan, traffic being, the site design being redone to encourage better traffic circulation, addressing the aesthetic impacts as identified by the planning board, and adequate provisions have been made for the management of stormwater runoff from the coverage. So, beyond that, this is not a approval at this time, this is just the SECRA
Right.
negative declaration. And if the board, once they get the zoning board of appeals, now, 406 Osborne, we do need to schedule a public hearing. Once the zoning board grants those variances, we can have a public hearing if the board's
Right.
satisfied to schedule the meeting. I believe at this point it would fall the first meeting in September. And unless there's any other concerns, that's all we got.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, we're up to the resolutions. Is any public comment on resolutions today? Any public comment? Okay, Karen, before we, is Karen, the Target one?
Yes.
How do we capture what we discussed today on there? There was a lot of open-ended issues.
Oh, Target is not, it
It's
was tentative.
Tentative, okay, so we're not doing that
we're
one.
not doing Target.
Okay. Okay, the first one, number one.
I'll move resolution number 59 for Maidstone Landing for the coastal erosion permit.
Mine says 58.
58, says 58.
You're right, 58. I'm sorry. It says 58 over here, too.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 58 for Maidstone Landing, chapter 219. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved.
I'll move resolution 64, Riverhead Retail Partners LLC, formerly Area Real Estate.
Second. Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 64 Riverhead Retail Partners LLC. That is the 7-Eleven on West Main Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved. We're on number 4 on the agenda.
All right, I'll move resolution number 66, which is 406 Osborne Avenue, classifying it in action and assuming lead agency, so moved.
Second?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 66 for 406 Osborne Avenue for lead agency for SECRA. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution's approved.
Approve resolution number 5, number 67, 836 East Main Street, classifying an action, assuming lead agency, and issue no negative deck pursuant to SECRA.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 67 for 836 East Main Street, classifying action for lead agency for SECRA. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved.
I'll move resolution number 68, which is a secret designation for, where is it? Oh, for the minor subdivision of Calvin Distribution on 3651 Middle Country Road.
Second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 68 for Calverton Distribution, minor subdivision. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. Okay, any public comment on any matter in front of the planning board?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Barbara Blass. I live in Jamesport. My comments have to do with your ongoing review of the Epcal subdivision as you work towards a final map. Having recently learned that the town board has concurrent subdivision jurisdiction with the planning board at Epcal pursuant to a local law adopted in 2016, I'm wondering if they can assert their authority at any time during the subdivision review. I don't know if they could come in at any time and take over and go towards
The town board?
the town board. Mhm.
We had asked that question too, and I don't know that we had received an answer, but what's in front of us is a subdivision map, it's not the site plan, correct?
Correct.
So, I think we're only at the subdivision stage right now, but I
But
don't
the
know,
local law specifically
No,
says
I
that
know,
the
but-
subdivision authority that you have can also be asserted by the town board.
The applicant has proceeded before this board. The applicant is the Community Development Agency. The governing body of the Community Development Agency is the town board. So I don't think it's appropriate for this board to speculate on what the town board intends to do or doesn't intend to do. They have acted as they have acted, and their actions speak of their current intent.
And that's where we are today.
That's where we are today.
Okay, thank you. I do have a few comments on the preliminary map. I know you've already approved it, but perhaps you could take some of these into consideration as you contemplate a final map. The groundwater divide was not delineated. The zoning use districts are still not listed on a map as required by code. The board did approve the preliminary map without a yield map that was required by Town Code Section 301-285, Paragraph A, which says that a yield map shall be submitted to the planning board in its consideration of all subdivisions of land. The yield plan shall provide specific calculations of the proposed parcels and the excluded areas. A condition of your approval was that a note be put on the next map, the final map, which reads, quote, "Site plan review or yield determination for lots 6, 7, and 8 shall comply with and be calculated based upon applicable zoning, New York State DEC wetland and tiger salamander buffer requirements / regulations, the town board's July 19th, 2018 supplemental generic finding statement at such time as specific site development is proposed," close quote. Quotes. There are two problems that I see with this particular statement. First, yield calculation is a function of the subdivision, not site plan review. It's not an either-or situation, as is called out initially. It says site plan review or yield determination. The terms are not interchangeable. They're two different processes. Deferment of this obligation is not permitted and should not be confused with any meeting or sidebar agreement that the town board may have with the DEC on taking permits or anything else. It's simply not allowed under the code, and if there's some obscure waiver that you're invoking, then it should be so stated. Otherwise, in my opinion, this is a procedural flaw which may jeopardize the validity of the map. I don't know, but it's certainly not following standard procedure. Second, once again, accuracy and attention to detail seems to be a lost art. The date of the adopted finding statement, which you refer to in not only this resolution but in other resolutions, is July 19th, 2016, not 2018. That was going to be included in your notation on the map. It's probably a good idea to get that date correct. The existing WSRR boundary is not depicted on the map. Do you know whether the town is continuing to pursue the relocation of the boundary line? Are we aware of that? Was the
Never came up, right?
Well, the alteration of the line, I guess, affects the subdivision of the approval, subdivision approval by the DEC.
The DEC is the agency which must approve this subdivision.
Correct, but there's an existing boundary that's not on the map.
Of course,
Right.
there's a boundary, we all know that, and so that's why they have the jurisdiction to approve that map.
The map that this town board approved does not have an existing jurisdictional boundary on it. The planning board's map. Right, that's all I'm saying.
Right, and the town board and the boundary, if they do apply to that boundary, will be included in the DEC's determination of how that map is approved at the time that the DEC approves that map.
It was shown on the original 50-lot subdivision map, and I'm just curious as to why it's not shown on this approved subdivision map. My other comments have to do actually with the adjacent Calverton Camelot subdivision. It appears that that subdivision includes a portion of the taxiway for the 10,000-foot runway, and you created a lot which necessitates an easement over private property to ultimately benefit another private developer, and I'm just wondering how that gets accomplished. And do you know if the Calverton Camelot has agreed to the easement?
Yeah, that was part of the Berman contract. The easement over the taxiway. Is that what you're talking about?
There's an easement that's indicated on the map.
Easement over the taxiway, and I remember this very well.
Yes.
The town of Riverbend, Community Development Agency, has an easement over Mr. Berman's subdivided property,
Right.
which runs to the benefit of the land that is being subdivided.
Shouldn't that,
So the benefit of that easement is to the land, so to properly show the ownership interest of the lands that the town currently has,
mhm.
that easement is part of that land.
And I only suggest then, why is it not listed with the other easements that are noted on the map? In the legend, there are easements that are in favor of CDA, et cetera, why is that easement not one of them? Okay, okay, we can leave that as an outstanding question. And I also wondered, being that the Berman subdivision is a PIP zoning district, and that's retained on the Calverton Camelot parcel, and that provides for accessory use of the runway by the tenants of that industrial park. I'm just wondering what impact the sale of the runways has on the tenants' accessory use. And you can choose not to answer that now, if it's just a question out there. Finally, would it be possible for you to see that the town board's finding statement that was adopted for the EPCAL property be included in that special section of the town's website that has all the other documents pertaining to EPCAL? You know, the finding statement is the lead agency's operative document. It contains all the key information obtained during the environmental review, and it serves as the basis for all the future decisions pertaining to the action. It should be more readily available to the public, but it's not in that section. If anybody cares to read it, it can be found in CDA Resolution Number 11 or Town Board Resolution Number 538, adopted July 19th, 2016. But it really should be with the rest of those documents because it contains important information. I very much appreciate the opportunity to submit these comments and appreciate your attention and consideration as well, and look forward to any responses that you may have if you deem them appropriate.
I do have a question for
Yes.
you. Thank you for pointing out, these issues that may or may not be procedurally correct. I'm not sure. We have to, seek the advice of our council whether the town board, we can't speak for the town board's intent, but what do you envision for this property? What would you like to see happen here? Because you've been, very, active in, pointing out, things along the way, and I was just curious what you would like to see here.
I'd love to see a very healthy balance between appropriate development and the respecting the very sensitive environment out there. It certainly can be done. I think this was a very good start in terms of the information that was contained in the EIS was very thorough. And if we just stuck to that and had some assurances that all of that would be taken care of, and especially since it was already adopted that the town embraced some of those limitations. I think there isn't anybody that I have ever spoken with that doesn't want to see the appropriate kind of development there within the originally designated 600 acres thereabout. Aviation related is certainly something that was contemplated in the zoning. Again, anything that, it just, there's so many inconsistencies right now and so much confusion with the process. It just raises flags that there isn't the certainty that should be at this stage. And we're a little, I speak for myself, I'm not speaking for any organization. But I think there's definitely a very healthy balance that can be struck. and look forward to having that kind of development out there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Make a motion to move the minutes of the July 2nd, 2019 Planning Board meeting, so moved.
Second.
Motion made to approve the minutes of July 2nd, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Next meeting is Thursday, August 1st at 7 PM. Motion to adjourn? Okay, thank you.